All right, so we are live. Hello, everyone, to whoever's watching this episode once it goes live. My name is Rahul. I am the host for the Brevity Hypothesis, a YouTube channel that I have created in order to help those who are recently have entered their academia within IT and who are just joining their first jobs within the IT industry to provide more clarity around the various roles that exist within the industry and also to give you an idea about how all of these different roles and functions actually work as one seamless entity and how all the different various business functions are orchestrated together so that if you are someone who's just joining college, you have a good amount of time to figure out what really works best for you. And if you're someone who's just joining the industry, you know, just to give you a perspective about what are the different roles that exist out there. So the purpose behind this interview is to create some level of awareness around how vast the IT industry is today, and just to give you a perspective of the amount of opportunities that you have in case you are looking to make it big in tech. So on that note, I will start the interview today. So I have with me Mr. Bhagavathi, who is my colleague from ThoughtWorks. We have known each other for the past 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years now. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have this chat with Bhagavathi is because of my experience and conversations with him over the past 2 years. They have been very enriching. The conversations we have are mostly around, how we as business analysts can create value, create some impact, and how we can influence the project that we work in, and to how we can drive our projects towards success, and just general philosophy about business analysis as such. So I felt that he will be the right person to talk to and have this conversation with. So on that note, I would want to introduce Bhagavathi. Bhagavathi, thank you so much for having this chat and giving us the time.
My pleasure, Rahul.
Awesome, great. So before we jump in, Bhagavathi, just want to call out to everyone who's watching that throughout the course of this interview, all the points that we discuss and all the topics that we choose are purely going to be based on our experience that we, as business analysts, have accumulated over the years. Nothing that we talk about is going to be related to our work within our current organizations or previous organizations. It's just going to be a generic conversation that we have around the domain and the role that we as business analysts play on a day-to-day role. Awesome. So with that note, probably I'll open the floor to you if you can talk a little bit about your experience and your background to our audience.
Sure, Rahul. Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me here, and thanks for a that very good introduction, right? So yeah, thank you very much, Rahul. To give a quick introduction about me, right? So I have overall 9 years of experience in the field of business analysis and IT consulting. Uh, Played different roles in organizations, right from my first company, Infosys, right? I started my career as a business analyst in mostly on the services side of things. Then after 4 years, I moved to my next organization, which is Robert Bosch. There it was mostly on the product side, right? It was altogether a different set of domains, different set of challenges. And there I was focusing on like bringing up a particular product offering for our vertical. There, my role was mostly like a strategic consultant to help establish that business and also ensure that like we come up with a viable business model for Robert Bosch, right? So that was my role there. And I was also partially playing a kind of a bid manager and the pre-sales role during my tenure in Robert Bosch. When I joined ThoughtWorks, I was completely into consulting and business analyst, and like within business analyst, right? I was also like understood too many things, I would say, during my tenure in ThoughtWorks. So previously, my way of looking at business analysis was something different. And after joining ThoughtWorks, it has broadened so much, which, yeah, I'm sure we will, over the course of this interview, like anyway, will come there. So I'm not going to divulge so much of information now. So yeah, now playing this role in ThoughtWorks and speaking to all of you this lovely afternoon.
Awesome, awesome. That's great. So probably without further delay, we can jump right in. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is just your general understanding of what business analysis is. Now, there are definitely a lot of textbookish definitions that we can find on the internet. It's just a Google search away. But with the amount of experience that you have gathered and the kind of roles that you have played, how has your perception of the role of business analysis shaped up? So, how would you define business analysis today in your own words?
Sure, Ragul. I think that's a very simple question, but it has so much thing in it, right? The term business analyst, right? I would say that irrespective of the role, right? If you are associated with the client, for any role for that matter, the underlying thing is help your clients win in their particular business or domain, wherever they are in, right? That is the underlying thing, okay? So how does, as a business analyst, we fit in this whole process is, I always believe in this problem and solution fit. Okay, so problem is something which a customer is having, right? And solution is something which, as a IT consultant or a services organization, we are trying to address that problem, right? So I would call this business analyst as a like a layer which is right in between both this problem and solution, and help both this problem and solution fit together. Maybe I'll explain this a little deeper, right? So if you take any organization, right, they might be having some ambitious vision or mission statement, right? And if you are to break those vision or mission statement, it would get into some set of problems, right, or objectives. So that's what it could be. So as a business analyst, how I look at things is that we should help or enable the customers to first of all define that problem or objective, right, from the vision that they are having. If for example, the vision of an organization is to get so much of revenue by 2025 or 2030, right, there will be some set of problems or objective in front of them. So as a business analyst, we should help them in defining what those problems are by working very closely collaboratively with them, right? So once the problems are well defined, then obviously with the help of other folks from the delivery side, from the devs, QAs, right, to see how we can address this particular problem for our customers in the most efficient and effective manner, right? Again, our knowledge of the problem and our knowledge of the domain, our knowledge of the business comes in here. So there could be multiple solutions to that problem. Here we will come in on what would be the best and right solution that would give the best ROI for the customer, right? So that's what we come in. So I think I spoke about too many things, but yeah, underlying thing is helping customers in getting that problem and solution fit, thereby enabling them to win in their business, right? So that's all it is about. And I think when I was saying it, it seems so simple, but actually it's not, right? There could be multiple perspective to it. You need to think from the client shoes. You need to think from the end user's perspective. You need to also wear the hat of like technical feasibility, right? So all these things come into picture. So with all this multiple perspective, enabling the client to reach that problem and solution fit is what business analysis, according to me.
Right. So is it fair to say that the role of a business analyst is to facilitate problem solving and help map the customer pain point to a solution?
Absolutely. We can say that, Raghav. Yeah.
Right. So and would you say that it's the same sort of a situation across a product company, a service company, or do you feel that the role objectively stays the same?
Right. So in a product company, right, we have a like company vision and a product vision, right? So that is something which is defined, and everyone would work towards that. And in product companies, along with problem and solution fit, right, there is
Right.
also one more thing comes into picture. That is product and market fit, Raghu. So
Right.
it's not only necessary that you solve the problem and solution, but also come up with a viable business model. Thereby, your product can make some like useful like customer behavior changes, and also bring some good revenue for your business, and also create that impact, right? At the end of the day, all these products are striving towards that. So that comes into the picture. So I would say if we are in a product organization, along with the problem and solution fit, as a business analyst, we should also be thinking about product and market fit, right? Because
Right.
you have this additional responsibility there, right?
Right.
However, in a service organization, you will be having your peers from the customer organization, and they would play the role, and they would ensure that whatever we are creating for them address the market, right? And they will make sure that it address that. So I would say that as one main difference between services and product, I would say, Raghu.
Okay. Definitely makes sense. All right. So now I have personally worked in two organizations as of now, but I see that the role of a business analyst is very malleable and very fluid.
Right.
I think if you look at other roles like, let's say, a developer or a QA, I think there are some fixed set of responsibilities and a fixed set of criteria that they need to meet in order to do their job. Of course, there are front end developers, back end, full stack, right? Machine learning, all of those different departments are there. But I think at the end of the day, the core fundamentals that are needed are the same. But in my experience, the role for business analyst is very fluid. I mean, there is a saying that in many situations, if there is something that nobody is going to pick up, it's usually the BA who does it, right? So there is a lot of out of the textbook responsibilities that a BA has to do. So how has your experience been in regards to that? Do you feel that it's a very malleable role?
Absolutely, absolutely, Raghav. Plus one to whatever you have mentioned. I think industry demands that, right? In a constant changing environment in which we are in, where what is trending now might become obsolete in next 6 months down the lane, right? Which was not the case previously, right? So that has already warrant from this waterfall to agile, right? I think all the organizations were changing, and the BA role is no exception for that, right? What I'm trying to say here was, during a particular start of that business, right, when that engagement is just like kicking off, our role is more like a facilitator, enabler during those discovery and inception, to help customer in understanding the vision, defining those problems, all those things, right? And once like visions and problems are sorted out, then wearing the hat of iteration manager to get all those MVP roadmap plans, at least a short level plan in place. And once the project kickstarts, then that's where we get into our roles of BA, wherein we analyze, we add details to requirements, and have this constant interaction with customer side stakeholders. So there, I think we would wear the role of product manager or pseudo product manager, come business analyst. And once the product like is in the stage of design, right, then obviously we need to wear the hat of somewhat, I call it as user design, right, and help like the designers and developer think through the shoes of end user, what it means, right, a product to be used by them, what are the desirability quotient or factor in the users, right? So those things come into picture. So I would say that this is till the product is about to launch, and once the product is in a stage where we are ready to launch the product, then obviously comes the role of I would qualify that as a kind of marketing or people, wherein we give customers with all the value and other stuff that the product can do, features, and advantage over the competitors, right? So those things come in. So we also wear the like hat of that. So as you see, right, while this course of product evolution, there are 4 to 5 hats as a business analyst we are wearing, right? And it's, as you rightly mentioned, it's absolutely fluid, and we need to be ready to take all those challenge and like step in then and there, do the things, and ensure that customer at the end of the day we are there to help the customers, right? So that is the objective. And yeah, there is lots of fluidness in this role.
Right. So this the point that you mentioned about change leads me to another question. So I think the role of a business analyst has also evolved over the last couple of decades. Uh, at the initial, I would say in the late 90s or early 2000s, I think it was more around a BA just developing very, it was very, I would say, theoretical, like, you build use case diagrams and, like, it was just very documentation oriented. But I think it has evolved a lot now. And when with change, there is also one more term that we can associate, which is upskilling. So
Exactly.
this leads me to the next segment, which is uh, common misconceptions or myths that we have about the role. So the first question regarding upskilling that I have is uh, one of the myths that go around is today, in today's world where everyone is moving towards digital platforms, etc. uh, does a BA need to know coding, or not coding, but how technologically sound does a business analyst have to be in order to be able to contribute effectively?
Okay. Okay, I see that as a two different question, but I will start from the second question first. I absolutely feel that as a business analyst, right, we should have some level of technical understanding, right? So to put it in layman terms, I always say that that what, why, and how, right? What is being developed, why it is being developed, and how it is being developed, right? Traditionally, business analysts don't get into that how part, right? We know what is being developed and why it is being developed. It is at a like a business side and user side of things. We don't get into the how part, right? However, with the recent all these things happening, right, where we are going with this platform economy and API based development and cloud first development, right? As a business analyst, if you are not getting a sense of that how, believe me, we will be lost, right, Raghav? So by lost, what I mean is we will not be able to have any meaningful conversation with the development team nor the customer team, right? Because nowadays technology is into everything, Rahul. Customers like previously, right? Customers are not experts at technology. Nowadays customers are they are investing so much in technology, so they speak technology, right? So what their expectation from business analysts is also changing, right? They are expecting BA to interact along the business lines. They also want to like give some technical overview also. But that being said, I also believe in the core strength, right? So developers core strength and BA core strength, right? While I say that we need to be like get some level of understanding, I feel if we are get to a level where we are conversant enough, right? We are at the level of
Exactly.
conversant. I think that should be
Yes.
enough. We need not go to the next level of becoming fluent, because there are
Correct.
developers, there are strong people in technical side who are there
Correct.
to help us, right? So
Right.
we need to upskill to become conversant with all those people, with the dev team and with the customers, right? I think that will ensure that all the gaps are addressed, and that is also essential. Now, all the projects are so much technical, right? We are
Right.
speaking in like terabytes of data flowing in such a huge velocity, and all these predictive maintenance and machine learning. So as a BA, only if you understand some level of how part, you will be able to participate in discussions like trade-off. I think trade-off is a very good thing, right? What fits into a particular iteration. So only if you understand some level of technology, you can take a better decision of whether that can fit in or not, right? Obviously you are coming from the business side of things, you know what value does it deliver. But if the value deliver and the technology complexity, right, if it is like not directly proportional, then you will change your decision, right? So that's what I'm saying. So that level of upskilling definitely we need to make. Hope this answers your questions partially, Raghav.
Yeah, definitely it does, because we always so there is this very cliched statement that we keep finding in articles that talk about business analysis, which is BAs play the bridge between business and tech. But I think it has changed a lot now, because people who are representing business today are mostly CTOs and people who are actually coming from 1 to 2 decades of tech experience. They have
Right.
played the role of engineering managers and architects, who are now taking on leadership roles, and they are entrusted with the responsibility of representing the business. So now
Absolutely.
how things are changing is, your terminology was really good, like conversant.
Right.
So if I walk into a room where there is a conversation happening around the technology, I need to be able to speak that lingo and understand that lingo. It doesn't mean that I need to be equipped enough to go and implement it, because there are experts for that.
Right.
But I need to play the role of that mediator there. And I cannot play that unless I understand basic terminologies, like what an API is. If I don't know what SQL query is, if I don't know basics of technology, around how a product is packaged, shipped, and
Absolutely.
how it's tested, right? So these are some fundamental concepts that we need to be aware of. Personally, if someone has a technical background, right, that helps immensely. But otherwise as well, I think today the demand is such that you need to be able to, you can't just walk into a room and be blank, like, okay, what are they talking?
Exactly. Exactly.
Will someone just explain to me in a business term? Because it's, you can't expect that today. So
Yeah, they are so tightly coupled, Ragul. Nowadays, business and technology, right? They are so tightly coupled. And with technology, there are so much like competitive advantage companies are seeking, right? So it is so tightly coupled. So we need to definitely understand some level of technology. And to go back to your first question, right, on the misconception and myths, I think you started really well, right? In early or late 90s, a business analyst role was more like an order taker, right? Wherein customers would give that I want these, like ensure that it gets built. So business analysts will sit together, create a BRD, FRD documents with all the use case diagrams, and then it would flow to the developers, right? It would have made sense then, but now if with the constant change in like trends and market, right, it won't make any sense, right? We speak about lean development in like in the product you develop. I also feel even for a business analyst, we need to be ensure that we are keeping our process clean, right? Creating documents only when there is a necessity, right? Creating workflows only there is a necessity. Otherwise, at the end of the day, it is a waste, right? What like in case if you're creating some documents, in case if it is going to become obsolete in next 3 years, 6 months, right? What's the point? There is no point, right? So that lean analysis also I would want to bring here, and that is the order taker is a misconception that is there, and customers give the requirement and they will come back in the final stage of product demo, right? That is also one other misconception. Believe me, color like customers are more like willing and like they are more participative now, and like the way we interact with our customers are more as a collaborator, right? We co-create, like they come from the business and user side of world, we give the technical solution to them. And I would say this is a we say continuous development, right? I would also want to add continuous discovery, right? What we like get to build, right? Over this course of interaction with the customers, we discover continuously, and this would not be possible without customers. So customers need to be involved in like not only at the iteration level, right? Even in a daily conversation level, even during a weekly or intermediate sprint level, at that level of like relationship connection needs to be with the customer. So those are other two misconceptions which were not right, and things that got changed tremendously in recent times.
Definitely. I think so. You mentioning about BRD and FRD just makes me think of one term, which is waterfall,
Right.
because I mean, I think when we say agile versus waterfall, the only way that I imagine or visualize the agile process is basically, fighting in a war. There are things just constantly changing. There can be surprises that jump up any minute, and if you're not aware, alert, uh, things can just change. If you take a 10-minute break, you're gone.
Yes.
Right, if you are not constantly focusing, you can face a lot of you can have major setbacks as well. So that's the way I see agile. Like, you need to be extremely flexible and
Right.
adaptive to change. You need to be comfortable with ambiguity.
Right.
So and also I see a lot of BAs who come from typical waterfall models
Mhm.
struggling a lot when they shift to agile, because they are so used to that standard set of changes that the moment I hand over the BRD to the developers, my responsibility is over. So have you faced that, or do you see that in your day-to-day life? How do you see the
Right.
difference?
Yeah. So I am one such person who got an opportunity to work in Waterfall during my early days. Then I transitioned to Agile. So to me, right, when I initially got into Agile, I was thinking like in case if I'm not creating so much of a documents, right, what value do I add to this team, right? So that was constantly running through my mind. Then when I see through the product life cycle, right, and the amount of areas we are involved, and amount of interactions we are having, and as you rightly mentioned, right, agile will give you certain power. You need not create everything upfront, but rather in a timely manner, based on the feedback, based on the actual usage pattern, you can create things, right? But yeah, it gives so much power. But yeah, it goes with the saying, right, with so much power comes so much responsibility.
Respond.
It also put you in a position that you need to be adaptable, right? In
Yeah,
waterfall we have that flexibility, but in waterfall also there is a problem, right? In
true.
case if whatever we have developed does not matches the expectation of the customers, right, then there is whole thing we have to redo. So those kind of thing is not there. So I see agile is a lot beneficial because we are delivering things in a very small iterative manner, and the feedback's also free flowing. I would say that this is a more risk free approach both for the customers and for the organization, services organization. We get so much of flexibility and power, but we need to use that more meaningfully and responsibly. That's what
Definitely.
coming to my mind.
Definitely. All right. So moving to the next section, where I wanted to talk to you about the role of. I think we have spoken about it a lot, but there are so BAs are available in the role of a BA is present in multiple industries. But specifically talking about IT, what do you think the role of a BA is within a project? Do you feel that is there anything specific that you want to mention, or of how the role of a BA is just restricted to IT?
Cool, cool, yeah. So I would just like to go back to the previous interaction we had, right? I spoke about problem and solution fitment. So I feel that as a role of like BA, right? At the end of the day, we it like boils down to the thing of helping customers getting this problem and solution fit rather. Maybe we'll deep dive, right? Because only if I deep dive with some example, I think it would be clear for everyone. So if I say problem space, right? In the problem space, I don't even speak anything about technology offering, my capability, nothing, right? I speak only about my customer, their product, their vision, their problems, their users, right? So this is the time when we do all this discovery and inception, right? And as a role of BA, it is our responsibility to get that product discovery right and do this inception in a manner that the stakeholders get a shared understanding of what the product vision is, and they also get a defined set of problems and objectives to target, and a clear cut prioritization of problems, right? So this is what I call it as problem space. This comes mostly during the initial inception and the discovery phase, right? Now coming to the solution, even during the inception, we slightly touch upon our solutions, right, Rahul? So we speak about some level of design and development on how we are going to address this problem, but at a very high level. We are not deep diving into the details, but yeah, we will speak about at a high level. We'll define a plan, high level plan and an MVP, and we come out, right? So this is the stage where we define the problem and a high level solution, right? So a role of BA is during this product discovery and inception is to ensure that customers are the same page on the problem and the high level solution scope, right? So this is during the initial stage. Now getting into the product development, right, which is, although it is iterative and we are delivering things in a smaller chunk, however, there is a lots and lots of analysis required. As a role of BA, we need to analyze a particular feature from multiple perspective, from the business perspective, right? By business, I mean the customers and the end customers perspective, and also the competitors perspective. So we need to analyze, and we need to write the requirements in a more meaningful manner, and we need to have proper acceptance criteria. In case if there are some user flows required, we will be creating it, and then we will coordinate with our dev team to get that built, right? So there okay, these whole things fit in the solution side of things, all this design and development, where you are drawing a fine boundary about the scope and helping the developers to build the product in a right manner. Because identifying the right solution, if it is the first thing, executing the whatever you have identified is the next thing, right? So both during the planning as well as execution we fit in. And once the solution is developed, right, then delivering it to the customer in a more impactful manner, like speaking more on the value prop that solution is going to give, right? Even that is also coming into the picture. So I would say, like, identifying the problem, like defining a solution, and also packaging the product holistically so that customers can take it and give it to their end customers. So these are some of the roles as a business analyst you can expect in an IT industry.
Right. Awesome. So, keeping in line with this theme, we spoke about how the role of a BA has evolved. So earlier it was just I have documented the requirements, I have handed it over, and my job is done. But now the BA has to touch base at every point of the development life cycle. Of course, at the initial stages where you not where you don't want to focus on the technology that you're going to use, because technology is just going to aid you in solving the problem, but to kind of I would say dig towards the problem and to identify the real pulse of the customer. Of course, a BA is required during your regular ceremonies like kickoff, your demonstrations, showcases. All of these areas are forums where BAs are required. But now that the role has evolved, so has the skill sets that are required have also increased. First, it was just good documentation and uh, some logical skills to put together the data flow diagram or whatever, right? Use case diagram. Those were required. But now, from the communication aspect as well, the demand is much higher. So I saw this very famous author and speaker called Simon Sinek. He said that we always classify skills as two types, which is hard skills and soft skills. But actually, they are not soft skills. You can't call them soft. They're human skills. So, what are the essential skills that BAs need to have apart from their ability to create, a user flow diagram or a user story map? These are conventional things that of course you have to do as a ritual, but these are tools to kind of help you structure your thoughts. But what are the other skill sets that you feel that BAs must have to succeed in the industry?
Sure, Rahul. I think that's a very interesting question. And yeah, before I go ahead and answer that question, since you mentioned Simon Sinek, right? Recently, I started reading a couple of books from Simon Sinek. Start with Why and Find Your Why, right?
Yes.
So those two are really interesting for people who are aspiring business analysts. I think they should give a read. Yeah, okay. Keeping that topic aside, now getting into the question you have asked. Yes, Ragul. So I think when the recent things, right, and the agile ecosystem, one important thing I felt is attention to detail, right? We are speaking about agile, and we are speaking about product discovery, a continuous discovery. So one thing that is really important when you do this discovery or inception is having that attention to detail. Obviously attention to detail needs to be there across the project, but it need to be at you need to be top notch on the skills when the product is or the idea of the product is getting evolved, right? So attention to detail is one thing which I feel you should have. And once the product is the ideas are the problems are defined, you are thinking through the ideas. Critical thinking is a skill. I also feel that is something that is really like required. Why you need to develop this, right? Why not that, right? In critical thinking, I think there are so many things, right? For example, this first principle thinking, second order thinking. So there are so many things coming under the critical thinking. But as a business analyst, I always believe in keeping things simpler, right? Asking the right set of questions rather than taking it as an assumption, or not clarifying things then and there, right? So that's not the right way. We need to ask questions at the right time. At most of the time, as Simon says, start with why, right? Understand why it is getting developed. So those critical thinking is obviously required. And once the ideas are in a stage where it is ready to get implemented, right? There comes the things of solving the problem, right? So you have the problem which you have paid lots of attention to detail, and you have also thought through some solutions critically. Now, how do you solve the problem with this solution? So problem solving would be one of the thing which I would like to highlight. So I think I spoke about three things. Yeah, once the problem solution, once you get to the problem solving, uh, then obviously you will be pairing with your developers, designers in solutionizing it, right? Because there could be like n number of solution, but you need to come up with one solution that would be a best fit for that problem. So solutionizing is also one other skill which I find it really important. Yeah, with solutionizing, once you've done that, then yeah, okay, then I feel effective communication, right? Which I think which is required throughout the whole journey, right? When you write from your course of interaction during the discovery or inception until you hand over the product to the customers, effective communication is absolutely necessary. Communication is a very broad term, right? Read, written, and also like listening, right? So even that is also important. Most of the times we forget to listen, right? And we take something as an assumption and we will proceed. So listening with lots of like empathy to the user, right? So communication is a broad term. So just to give a one more branch to it, listening with the user empathy is also something I feel it has required. Yeah, that's okay. One last thing maybe could be the people orientation, Raghav, because as a business analyst, you are interacting with so many people with so many different perspectives. So if you don't have a people orientation, right, you'll not be able to get the best out of them, right? So you should not be judgmental. You should be in a hearing mode, listening mode. Give some level of attention to whatever they speak, whatever they are not saying, and have this sense of comfort with the whole team and customers. So people orientation would be the last and very important skill that I think ties the whole business analyst and also the all other stakeholders together. So I think these are some 4 5 skills. Yeah.
Definitely. So I have one perspective to this and one question to ask.
Okay.
So one thing when we talk about communication is like you put it right. I think one more way to say it would be articulation. So I think
Right.
articulation is so important. That's one thing that I've really learned as a BA, because you can have everything in your head, but if you're not able to express or articulate it effectively, ask the right questions and say it in a way that actually puts across the message in a way that the other person can comprehend,
Right.
all the work that you do is lost. So I think
100%.
articulation is definitely
100% Rahul. Yeah. So we speak about so many things, right? Communication, but oftentimes we forget this thing, right? And I think you brought in an interesting perspective about articulation, right? So as a BA, we are speaking to all these different stakeholders, and we need to have this articulation in a way that the other person can understand, right? Also, if you are speaking to developer, the way you articulate with the developer is not same as the way you articulate with the customer or an end user, right? So you need to stitch your message accordingly, and use your like context. You should not overuse it. You should use it very crisply, clearly, in a manner that they get it. Yeah, I think articulation is also definitely important.
definitely. And since you spoke about interpersonal skills, uh, I had recently written an article where I had mentioned about how communication has changed post COVID,
Mhm.
like just a rant that I had put together, right? So earlier, I think, so would you agree that the role of a BA, like BAs are required to be extroverts? Do you feel that it's a necessity today?
Okay. Again, this is a very debatable topic. I have heard
Yes.
people having points on both the side, right? One thing that occurred to me is, Ragul, like a person can be complete introvert or a complete extrovert, right? But I think if you are in either side of an extreme, I think you'll end up failing, right? There needs to be a
Right.
balance, right? I uh, I will coin things in a slightly different manner. I will say this as logic and emotion. Okay. So by
Mhm.
extroverts, they are high on emotion, and introverts, they are high on logic. Okay. Let's just for the discussion sake, let's keep it that way. Logic and emotion. So there needs to be a balance between both this logic and emotion, Ragul, right? Because definitely whatever the way you articulate the content you speak needs to have logic, because only if you have logic, by logic I mean data points, why you are doing it, right? All those things need to be there. But being said that, if you are not speaking with the level of emotion, right, which would make some sense to the user, there is no point in having like 100% logic. At the end of the day, you are not establishing that connect at all. So I
Right.
feel there needs to be a balance, and you need to switch between both. So the advice is, if you are an introvert, right, try to make some move.
Right.
You need not move to the level of extrovert, but to a level by which you can have this emotional connect with the other person, right? Same, if you are an extrovert, make that move, so that you can have some logical connect with the other person. So that would be my take on this.
Yeah, definitely. Because in a pre-COVID world, so as BAs, right, you probably would agree to this, that we need to talk to at least like 15, 20 people in a day to get our job done. It's like we can't just sit in front of a monitor and get our job done. It's like our
Absolutely.
job is communication intensive, right?
Right.
So if, of course, many times or most of the times the customers are usually in a different location, so we can't talk to them in person. But our interactions in pre-COVID world was mostly face-to-face with developers and teammates. So if we wanted to get anything done or ask any questions, we would just walk over to their desk, talk to them for a few minutes, and our job would be done. We would need the answers that we wanted. We would get the answers we wanted. But now that we are all sitting behind or in front of a monitor, and in most of the situations, our cameras are switched off, and we have so become used to this lifestyle of
Right.
remote working. Uh, how does uh, how can one make communication uh, better? Like, what steps have helped you to still maintain that connect even though you are virtually connected?
Right, Rahul. I think that is a very good point in the current situation we are in, right?
Correct.
I think lots of things got changed, Rahul. When I am face to face with the person, right? I can understand from their facial expression, their body language, whether they understand things or not. But in this post-COVID situation, um, many a times people don't even switch on their video, right? Thanks to all this network or other bandwidth issues, right? But
Right.
yeah, at the end of the day, we have to live with that. One thing I feel that is bare minimum required is keeping things more visual, right? That has helped me really in these times. So whatever things I'm planning to say or speak or try to get an buy-in, or trying to get some action item out of the person, right? Obviously you will have a connect with the person mainly for two things, right? One could be like asking them to do something, right? Action item, or make them agree on whatever thing you are having, right? So this could be the two things where you would interact. So for both these things, keeping things more in a visual manner, right? So that you both can relate things much easier and much faster, right? So that visual way of discussion is one thing that is occurring to me. And thanks to all this situation nowadays, I'm like writing lots and lots of things in emails to be on same page with the people, right? Previously, like as you rightly mentioned, in case if we need something, we directly go to that particular person and get things done. So now you have two options, right? Either you need to set some call and go and have that interaction with them. But at the end of the day, if you are having calls on a complete basis, right, you will not be end up completing your things, right? So that's when I'm also starting to use email conversation, trying to do things more in an asynchronous manner, right? So that is also something I'm trying to do. So I would say that in this situation, we need to like think of alternative, and this asynchronous communication, asynchronous way of doing is one thing that is required. And obviously, right, because my after this situation, my working hour might not be your working hour, right? Because at the end of the day, we are connecting in home. Your time might not suit mine. So this asynchronous way of communication is something must meet. And in case if we are meeting face to face via obviously Zoom or Teams channel, then like having things more visually would help us to have a meaningful conversation. That's what I'm thinking.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. So far we have covered what business analysis is and what it entails, the role of BAs in IT, some of the misconceptions and myths. Uh, so now I think we can move to the one of the most crucial or misunderstood points, um, which I think we need to put a full stop to this, which is the confusion between the different roles
Mhm.
that exist out there. So today, there are a lot of job descriptions that have business analysis as the title, but they require a lot of data skills. There is a role of
Right.
a data analyst. There is a data scientist. There is a system analyst. There is a functional analyst. So there are so many flavors and variations. Uh, how do you distinguish between that, and what do you think is the core skill set that each of these role entail? Like, how can you choose what's right for you?
Okay. Okay. I think that's a pretty interesting question, right? And yeah, oftentimes I think people are using these roles and responsibilities interchangeably. So you mentioned business analyst role and business data analyst role and the data scientist role, right? So I'll
Right.
speak about these three things. Uh, Firstly, to start with business analyst, right? Again, I'll go back to my previous statement itself. It is like understanding about what and why and some level of how, right? So that's what it is essential. um, if you think from a business data analyst, even they are pretty much on similar lines. However, along with the user perspective, right, which is the most common in business analyst like world, the business data analyst also will think about data, right? So we often say, right, user centered development, user centered discussion, design. So as a
Mhm.
business analyst, we are always user centered, right? all the stories we write, right, we start with as a user, right, so and so user, so we are so much user centered. But the business data analyst, right, along with user, they will also be data centered. Okay, so they will write stories, they will create epics, they will think about features, everything. Along with the user, they will also have this data element to it. So even at the end of the day, they are also doing that what and why part. They are the guardians of those two. However, along with the user, they are also thinking from the data side of things, right? So that is something which they do. Other roles like data analyst or data scientist, right? So they are mostly on the how part, I would say, Rahul. So they actually do the implementation, right? But being said that, I don't say that they don't know what or why. They do know about what is being developed and why, but they are not the guardians or owner of that, right? Because business analyst will help them with that. There, the strength of data scientist and data analyst is mostly on the how part. They create algorithms, they create models to ensure that whatever the business analysts are coming up as a requirement, right, it is getting delivered properly. So they mostly focus on the how part of things or the execution side of things, Raghu. Hope
Got it.
that answers your question.
Yes. So I'll just share a scenario, and please let me know if this is the right way to put it. So let's say that a company wants to become, let's say, data driven,
Mhm.
uh, and there are some questions that they're trying to answer, to which they currently don't have the answer for. Now, the role of a business analyst would typically be to understand what questions they are trying to answer,
Mhm.
to probably form a hypothesis, uh, enable or facilitate those discussions to understand what the company is striving to reach so that we can derive those questions that need to be answered,
Mhm.
and probably seek help of data analysts and data scientists to leverage their skills of working with data, technology, mathematics, algorithms to do the necessary number crunching, post which they can arrive at the data points
Right.
that can drive those decisions or support or enable or ease the stakeholders to take that decisions easily. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, Rahul, exactly. So I think since you brought in that point, right? I think that is a very good point, Rahul. So we typically start with the business vision, right? And then we come down to set of objectives, goals, and then we have some set of bets, and then we go with a set of experiments, right? A typical lean value tree format, right? So in this situation, previously, I think as a business analyst, we were helping customers to move across this. Now, lots of business problem has data as a dependency to it, Raghav, right? So one of the goal or one of the bet would be high on data. So like BA to traverse that particular bet or goal, they would definitely need that help of data scientist or data analyst, right? For them to say that whether this goal goes back to the vision, this bet matches the goal, right? So that's what it is getting into. And as a business data analyst, right, these people who comes with some level of data understanding, right, they would be able to actively participate in all data related conversations, and they know what a data related problem is and how they can help organization to make data driven decisions, right? So they come from that world. So I think that is a very good example. And yeah, this is how the different roles would contribute to that.
Right, right, definitely. So I think now that the role of a data scientist is catching up so fast, right? Data oriented roles. There are a lot of studies which say that the role of a data scientist is apparently the sexiest job that is out there, because you are going to literally be driving or kind of leading the change that a lot of organizations are looking for. So there is like a buffet to choose from for people who are looking to get into this industry, right? So between all of these roles, like a data BA, a BA, a data analyst, a data scientist, uh, how can a person know what is the right role for them? How can they go about uh, figuring out what's best for them? What would you suggest?
Okay, so if I understand it correct, I have not entered into any role, but for me to make a decision whether this role suits or me, what are the things that I need to be aware of, right?
Yes.
Right. As I said previously, also, right, irrespective of any role, at the end of the day, you are there for making your customers or clients win, right? So
Correct.
that's what you are. As a business analyst, to help all those aspiring people who are trying to get here, one thing that occurs me is this problem solving, right? Because at the end of the day, we are trying to solve some very big problem for the customer with some solution, right? So a person who can solve problem with very less data and very high ambiguity, right? Because if you have like enough data points, the problem is not critical, right? It would be
Mm.
very trivial, right? So
Yes.
um, that is not what the BA role is, right? So as a BA, as a business analyst, you should always aim, or you should always expect that you are going to solve a problem where there is zero or no data and high level of ambiguity is there. So your strength comes in clearing all those ambiguity, getting all those data points, and then address the problem, right? So that's how I see it. To give an analogy, I think customers are coming to us and we are all getting into a dark tunnel, and you being the guiding light for them, right, to show through the path, and so that they can get into that path. So that's how I think the BA role is. And all the people who are aspiring to this role, right, they should be expecting this, right?
Right.
So that's how I look at it. Not sure whether I answered your question completely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Uh, yeah, I think so. The factors or the variables might change depending on what's required out of you.
Right.
But I think at the end of the day, the necessary skill sets remain, or the expected outcome remains the same, which is to bring clarity. It can either
Exactly.
be through some traditional BA tools and techniques to bring ambiguity around the structure of delivery, probably, or it can be by answering questions through data and number crunching. It doesn't matter. It's just supporting
Exactly.
the data.
Exactly.
Next, right?
Yeah. Adding to that, sometimes asking the right set of questions also gives clarity
Yes,
in from ambiguity, right? Yeah.
right. Awesome. Uh, so I think that pretty much covers what I had in mind
Okay.
for today. But probably on a closing note, one question I can ask on behalf of everyone is, since you, given your domain of expertise,
Mhm.
if someone is looking to start as a business analyst, of course, there are going to be students listening to this who are probably in their first year of college, or who might be starting placements in another 6 months. But what would be the a few points that you would advise to get started on their journey? What are the first immediate things that someone needs to do if they want to get started as a BA? Because there is a lot that comes with experience, but what can you as a like what can a person as a student do in order to get started?
Sure, sure, Rahul. I think that's a very good question and need of the hour as well, right? So I see there are two parts to this, right, Rahul? So there are people who, as you mentioned, are right from their engineering or B school and try to get into this business analyst role. Or there could be another set of people who are playing some other role, like a dev or QA, and they are trying to transition to this role, right? So maybe I'll give my thought for both these people, right? So firstly, to for people who are starting afresh, right? They are coming out of their B school or engineering school. Um, One thing which they can start like before obviously coming into this BA domain, one thing they need to understand is on a very bare minimum how a business functions, right? They need to understand the different departments and organization that constitutes a business, right? Obviously this will be taught in a like in a B school, but yeah, just to make things clear, like this is a bare minimum skill that is required, right? Because when you are getting into the business analyst role, you'll be speaking to different set of stakeholders in different set of departments, and each come from different set of motivations and goals, right? So for you to understand that and for you to empathize with them, definitely we need to spend some time to understand what constitutes a business, different entities within them. So that is bare minimum. And also think about the financial side of things, right? About the balance sheet, about how does a company gets money, what are the core part of the financial structure, right? So that is also something which we need to understand, because at the end of the day, like we can deliver value in only two terms, right? Either you can help them get an increased revenue or reduce cost. If you are speaking in financial terms, obviously there could be other terms, but in financial terms these are the two things. So as a newbie, when you are venturing into this BA things, definitely you need to be conversant in financial terms. So that's why I'm saying you need to understand some level of finance. So these two being said, the third could be some level of users, right? Some level of user understanding is also required. So this is at a bare minimum level for the people who are venturing into BA role newly, and they don't have any experience, right? Given that as an assumption. Now coming to the other set of people who are already in the business, they are trying to transition to this role, right? So for them, I will take an assumption that they already know how a business functions, right? They have some level of understanding, but I'm not sure whether they may or may not get to the level of speaking in financial terms, right? I'm not sure whether they would have done that. So that is something which I wanted them to do, and articulating the value, right? So I'm unlike BA role, right? Other roles would articulate value more in terms of technology, right? They speak about cost reduction, reusability, scalability, but not essentially in the terms of business value, right? So business value is altogether a different terminology and proposition. So when they are venturing into this new domain of business analyst, they need to start articulating more in terms of business value. And obviously they need to unlearn certain things on the how part, because going forward, they are not the ones who are going to implement, but they are the ones who are going to set the what and why, and they will be supported by other people. So obviously they need to unlearn on the something, because otherwise that would come as a bias or a kind of influencing to this people, right? So they need to do a bit of unlearn. And I think that's pretty much okay. Maybe user empathy also, right? Some roles may or may not have that exposure. So getting that sense of user, doing this user research, so that is also one other thing which I would add, Raghu.
Yeah, I think so. The one part that you mentioned about what, why, and how leads me to something that I always think of when I think of the difference between the business and the tech counterparts. So I always believe this is what I've learned, which is there are two aspects to a project. One is figuring out the right thing,
Mhm.
like doing the right thing, and then doing the thing right. So the
Exactly.
role of BA comes in the first half, which is doing the right thing,
Right.
and then you leverage the technology to figure out how to do the thing right in the
That's right.
best way possible. So
Absolutely.
so that's one way to look at it. And also, since you mentioned people who are transitioning from, like, other roles to a BA, probably this begs one last question, which is, let's say you're a BA, you've gathered enough experience, uh, where next, right? What would the natural career progression for a BA look like in
Okay.
terms of horizontal, vertical development? What would you?
Sure, Raghu. I think this is a very interesting question. Um, I say to answer that question, right? In a typical thought worker way, depends, Rahul. To be like fair here, it depends. Uh, I had seen people who have continued to do business analyst for 20 years of experience. Also, there are some people who are transitioning to product management and product ownership in between, right? So I have seen that transition also. And some at some instance, some people have transitioned to the level of department wise, more on the operation side of things, right? So I have seen people taking that role also. At the end of the day, it depends, right, based on your interest and based on the opportunity you get, right? So that's how I would like to put it. You can either continue to do the business analyst role, like helping customers in understanding what they want and delivering it, right? So that could be one thing. Product management, I think this is a thing which is evolving in a very recent times, and I see many people are moving towards that product management. um, However, I feel there is a very good amount of overlap between product management and business analyst, except certain few areas, right? And product management is mostly on the if you are working for a product organization, then I think some like roles are being categorized as product management, product managers, right? So, however, that being said, the last option is also still open, Raghav, wherein people moving into operation roles, right? Even that is something which I had seen. So yeah, it depends based on the interest. You can decide yourself. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think uh, it that answer, right? It depends. I think it's very subjective. There
Right.
is no right answer to it.
One right
It's
answer. Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely awesome. So that's pretty much all I had for today. But yeah, before we close, I want to thank you for your time, Bhagavathi. This has been very enlightening. I think everyone who watches this will take at least something out of out of this, something of value, and help them get that kickstart that they want into their careers.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me here. And for all the people who are watching this video, right, I wish you all the best. And if you are kickstarting your career in business analyst, right, yeah, as I was saying, be open minded, approach the role with a bit of enthusiasm, and also have some level of this business and user sense, right? Even if you're starting fresh or transitioning, yeah, start with that open mindset and some level of business and user sense. That is definitely going to help. Yeah, and thanks for listening.
Awesome. Thank you, Bhagavathi. Thank you, everyone.